So when we talk about blockchain users and gamers, I actually think there's a lot of similarities. So one of the first things we do in games is we build up virtual economies. And we've been doing this since about 1997 with the earliest MMORPGs, such as Ultima Online, EverQuest, Asheron's Call. And these MMORPGs, they introduced virtual currencies into their ecosystems. So for example, there was gold in Ultima Online, there was platinum in EverQuest. And all of the methods of buying, selling, and trading in those games was done with a virtual currency. At that time, if you talked to a non-gamer and you told them that there were people in the world who would be willing to buy a virtual sword for real money, or they'd be willing to exchange 100 US for 100 gold pieces, this was a concept that nobody could really understand. So for example, back in 1999, I sold my first virtual sword in a game called Asheron's Call for $130. And excitedly, I told my parents and I told my friend, I said, hey, I just sold a virtual item for real money. And nobody believed me. They said, why in the world would anybody do that? But for gamers, I think the concept of what is virtual and what is real tends to be a bit blurred. I think gamers are smart, they're tech savvy. I think it's pretty easy to see them picking up something like cryptocurrencies easier than your typical consumer. So now let's talk about actual games on the blockchain and how we see the potential for a very interesting combination there. A lot of the earliest online games out there were built around these fantastic economies of really cool, unique equipment and player communities trading them back and forth between each other. So I'm not sure if you remember Diablo 1 or Diablo 2 back in the late 1990s and the early 2000s. But we would play Diablo 2 for hours and hours and hours every day because every single piece of equipment or piece of loot that we got would be unique, it would be different, and there's a huge scale between the kind of moderate items and the super, super rare unique items. And what we would do with those super rare unique items, let's say I'm a warrior, you're a paladin, we would trade them with each other. And that created a vibrant economy and a vibrant community that revolved around the trading of these items. This carried on in a lot of the MMOs, such as World of Warcraft, EverQuest, EverQuest 2. When we got into free-to-play, starting in 2009, 2010, the whole dynamics of game economies changed. So what happened in free-to-play is that essentially game developers got rid of all forms of trading from their games. And this is true in a majority, not necessarily all, but a majority of free-to-play games on the market right now. Trade was eliminated so that developers or publishers could essentially become more profitable. So if there's a game with magic boxes or card packs or any other gacha mechanic, developers want the player to open it and you'll keep opening pack after pack after pack after pack until they get that epic item that they want. Now in a traditional game, what would happen is I open a pack, I get this epic item, but I want that epic item, then a trade would occur. I say, hey, you've got a sword, I've got a bow, they're both really good, why don't we switch? Or yours is better than mine, but I'll give you my sword and I'll give you an extra piece of armor or something like that. So unfortunately with free-to-play, we lost the whole concept of trade in games. In addition, from a publisher's perspective, there's a lot of fraud involved in games that allow for the trading of items. And World of Warcraft, all of these games are perfect examples. When an item can be traded, there's going to be an economy built around that that includes many bad actors. So there's going to be people committing credit card fraud. So for example, if I know that these in-game items are worth money, then myself as a fraudster, I can get stolen credit cards for not too much money on the market. I can go and buy items within these games. I can sell them to somebody else who will then send me money, and then the credit card can be charged back. which means if I stole your credit card, you figure out I stole it, I put $500 on there, you call Visa and say, hey, I did not authorize that purchase, and basically everybody got scammed. Blockchain technology is beautiful in the fact that transactions are safe. If I send you 1,000 plats for your one virtual sword over the blockchain, it can't be hacked. There can be no fraud. So this actually solves some problems on the publisher's end. So with a blockchain game, through combining smart contract technology, combining the technology of the blockchain, we're able to build an entirely new class of games that hasn't really been possible. These will be games that focus on the economy, that focus on trading, and that focus on true player ownership of items. So, it's been kind of an interesting 10 years of free-to-play games that feel more like digital cigarettes than actual games themselves. So we strive through blockchain to kind of go back to the early days of what we feel online gaming was supposed to be.